Hey everybody, it's Chris Scalf and it's time for some more art. Today I'm going to do some digital doodling, and by doodling I mean I don't really have a planned out picture. I kind of have an idea, but no previous thumbnails were created or anything, but here's what I got. Um, I love how you can just get references from life around you in your own home. In this case, dogs. My dog's wrestling, playing, being crazy. Sometimes I just like to turn on the iPhone and video record them and get screen grabs of the video, look for things I can use in a piece of art. And as some of you know, I like to draw a lot of wolves, wolf-like creatures, werewolves and stuff. It's just kind of a fun little activity I do just to detox from the everyday craziness of deadlines. You know, it's kind of a autopilot type drawing thing I do just to relax. So here I got some interesting references, and I'm going to show you how I can actually use this, the characteristics and some of the details in this, to create a concept of a werewolf type creature. I even went ahead and did a quick video capture snapshot of my hand just to use to make it more werewolf like. So I'm going to get started, and what I'll do is I'll create a new layer. And my canvas, by the way, is we got 8x10 at 300 dpi, so that's what we're going to start with. And brush tool, I'm going to start with a soft edge brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and start loosely sketching something in here based on a pose that's somewhat between these two pictures right here. So it's going to be really loose. Just kind of sketch this in here, not following exact details of these guys. I do like the expression of this eye right here, so I'll probably make this eye a little more wide open if I use mostly this pose. I like this pose, but I like the detail that you can see in here with the lips and stuff, so we'll see what we can get out of it. Again, I don't have this planned out. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to combine these elements yet. I'm going to experiment. So here we go. Just kind of drawing in the rough shape of the mouth right now on a separate layer, so I can grab the move tool and move it around as needed. Oops. I can also rotate it like this. Maybe I'll take this here and select it and hit free transform and just kind of exaggerate it a bit more. Okay. I think I'll make this a little bit bigger. Make it just really take up the picture. And let's see, I'm going to just etch in the eye here. Maybe put it right around there. And yeah, then maybe widen that side of the mouth a little bit. And let's see, I'm going to make sure that this mouth comes back fairly far, or maybe I'll move the eye forward. That might even be better. I just selected it and hit delete, or actually cut. Okay, getting a comfortable design here, and I'm going to close all my lines on here. This is just a preliminary type thumb sketch. I'm going to probably redraw it on a new layer here in a minute. Alright, now that I close the line, I can select the outside with the magic wand tool, hit Q for quick mask, check my selection, and then select inverse. And then I'm just go back to my brush tool, hit color mode up here at the top, and then I'm just going to pick a a gray color and just kind of blow that in there. And this is the wolf layer. And then I'm going to create another layer for the hand, keep that separated. And let's see, looking at this down here, I'm just going to kind of loosely sketch that in, same way I did the wolf's head. Paying attention to these increments, anatomy there, fingers and thumbs. Maybe put a big claw on there. Okay, try to keep my lines closed so I can do that select thing that you just saw me do. And coming down here, get this knuckle lined up right there. I guess that should be good. Again, magic wand, hit Q, check the selection, hit Q to get out of it, select inverse, and B for brush. Still in color mode up here. I'm going to pick a different tone of gray here just to make it stand out. Maybe I'll go ahead and size that up a little bit more. Like so. Let's call this layer hand. And there's our start. Alright, moving right along. I was just looking at this, and at first I was going to turn down the opacity and redraw the line cleaner on top. But I'm gonna go a real down and dirty way and just use what I have here as the art. So I'm gonna turn off the hand layer and just kind of concentrate on the wolf one for now. First of all, I'm gonna go in here and try to bury some of these sketch lines. I guess I could do a Gaussian blur and just about that much right there, and maybe noise, dust, and scratches filter on top of that. And they'll just kind of knock all that back. I don't have to go in there and rework all that. You know, this is the kind of work I do on a time budget between deadlines. So I try to do this stuff as quickly as I can since I'm doing it just for fun. So first thing, I'm going to grab the number 14 size spatter brush there. And I'll size it up right about like so, using my right and left bracket keys again to size my brush up and down. I'm just going to come in here and, you know, smudge. Using the smudge tool, I'm going to come in here and pull on this fur and just kind of stretch it out and give it a more hair-like pattern. Just for my edges. Okay. And then up here, maybe a little bit shorter wisps. Not so much because I want to kind of do a lot more wrinkles and things up here. And of course, the nose doesn't have any fur on it at all. It's just a nose. And we got some nice close-up pictures of noses here from some other shots of the dog. Like this one right here. It's got some nice texture in it. Got those reserved for when I get around to that. And I just put them down there in the bottom. I tend to have a ridiculous amount of stuff open on my screen, but I at least know where it is and where I can find it. So though it's not organized, it kind of is. So I got the round edge, hard edge round brush for the part where I'm doing these edges that don't have hair. I'm so used to working and not talking or thinking about what I'm doing that sometimes I accidentally skip over telling you what I'm doing on these videos. So alright, I got my number 14 brush. I'm going to go back into normal mode. It's always good to remember to do that, because if you don't, you'll be trying to draw and wondering what the heck's going on. color mode, of course, just changes the colors of the existing pixels, and since black isn't a color, we see nothing happening there on my grayscale image. And so yeah, go up to the top and make sure you go back to normal mode when you want to add more detail. And I'm just going to kind of follow this a little bit. I'm probably going to do my own little details. It's not going to be totally anatomically correct, but I don't really want it to be, because it's fantasy, it's fun, it's escapism. I like to make stuff up and be crazy and break rules with the art. It's what separates this from the daily grind of deadline work. It's being able to do your own thing. And there's the defined mouth. Go in here and do the nose now. Looking at this nose, I'll use that as a loose reference. Kind of got that little shape thing going in there. And then the eye. Going to go a little fictitious here on the eye shape. Follow this stuff a little bit, but not quite as accurately, because again, I want to have some fun here. I don't want to be restricted. And I think I might use the smudge tool and pull this out a little bit more up here. Give myself a little bit more extra room to put some more detail down. Pull this out, a little more variation. Back to the brush tool, the B key. Sometimes I hit those keys really hard on these videos just so you hear me do it. And you know that I'm making the change. It's just the subconscious thing I'm doing. Alright, I'm just kind of looking at a little bit of stuff on here. I'm not totally following it exact now. I'm adding a little bit of contour and wisps of detail. I'm kind of making this up right now. I'm imagining a little puffed out ridge right here. And just some random wrinkles on the side, just for texture and detail. Give it a lot more character. And then I'm going to size up that number 14 spatter brush. Try to get a little bit more texture and shading and depth in there. You know, at this point I think I'm going to lock this layer so that I don't accidentally go outside of my lines and mess it up. That's what that does. I'll take a look at this here, see if there's any other detail I can get out of that. So see some little wisps of hair in here that can inspire you to use as reference just for the rules and patterns of how fur and hair flow directionally. You don't have to follow exact, but you can get a good sense of the patterns. I love these spatter brushes in Photoshop. They all versions of Photoshop so far have come with these. And you can really go very far with your hair techniques. This looks a little weird here. I'm going to go back into my smudge tool and just shake that up a little bit. Scroll back and forth. There we go. B for brush. And I'll pull this out like so. Just kind of keep that open there. I do like the lighting in this. I'm going to probably follow that here in my my lighting for my picture. It's kind of cool. Size that down. Put some obscure wrinkles in here. Random details. So again, I'm keeping this light source in mind. I'm trying to imagine where the shading and whatnot would be. Okay. I'm looking at this lip detail down here. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna come up and look at that here in a bit. First, I'm gonna use this mostly to lay down all this other main detail. I think I'm gonna give him a little bit more snarl wrinkle up here. Needs to have a lot more character. Darken that detail in the nose a little bit. And then, before I think about the teeth, I'm gonna go ahead and just grab a hard edge brush. I'm gonna put all this stuff in here, this dark, like so. I'm just gonna ignore the gums and the teeth for right now. Just kind of lay that in there. Maybe I'll switch over to this number 45 here. Oops, put a speck on it. Control Z. And just kind of put that down first. Lay down a quick base. And I'm looking at this tongue. I like that. That's pretty cool. Cool detail. So I'm going to lay that in there. Put those wrinkles in there. Not following it exact. This is a relaxed project. Having some fun here. Not really adhering to any massive rules. The only rule we want is to have fun and to make this have some sense of depth. It's got a little bit of a escapism. Escape the crazy grind of the world. Alright, now I'm going to grab, just going to hold down the Alt button and just grab a tone of gray from somewhere in here and temporarily create a new layer to start laying down all this teeth and stuff. So I'm just going to roughly render that in there. Still got that same brush. Started out number 45 in the tool palette there, the brush palette. And right now I'm just concentrating on the gums. Laying down a base for those gums. Like so. And yeah, I think now I'll switch over to you know what, I'm gonna change the color of the background so I can get rid of this white, because I need to use white to draw the teeth. So I'm just gonna hit Command L for levels with the background selected. I'm gonna knock that back to something like this for now, and hit save. Go back into that temporary layer, pick the white, and just use it to draw. Drawing my teeth now. Some nice canine teeth in here. I'm going to exaggerate mine just a smidge. Use Alt to grab a grayer tone from within the shape I just made. And I think I'm going to cut this down a little bit. It needs to match this tooth a little bit more. So I'm going to hit the erase, hit E for erase, just kind of cut away at that. Okay, back to B for brush. And grab some of this reference here and just loosely drawing some nasty teeth there. And then I'm going to imagine this tooth would probably be right about over here from the other side. Use the smudge tool to fix a little bit of some of the fatness I accidentally put on that. I like to use the smudge tool somewhat as an eraser tool, because you can put it back instead of just erasing. You can actually use the smudge tool to take away, but also go back in and fluff it back out. So it's kind of like an eraser tool and somewhat of a painter tool all in one. back to B for brush. I'm going to be looking at this stuff down here. Just kind of draw that in there real quick. I still got that, this brush here is 45. And I'm just sizing it up and down as needed with my bracket keys. And putting these teeth in there, in the back of his mouth. Come over here to this side. Exaggerate them maybe a little bit more than what's in the picture. Okay, that looks decent. I'm going to come down here and exaggerate this just a bit more than what we see in the picture. Put a tooth over here. Maybe sample some of that dark and knock it back a little bit. Grab a color up or a tone from up here with the Alt key. I'll look up here a little bit and just cheat my teeth a little bit. Make a few of them sticking out, even though it's not on this. Again, I'm exaggerating some things, making a fun fictitious picture. And for this lip, I'm just going to do a little dark area in there. See how that turns out. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and merge this down. Command E for merge down. It's still locked, so I can go in and kind of tone that back on the other side where it might be a little bit more shady. Come up here, do some shading. A little bit of gradients here and there. And down here as well. Size the brush up. Give it some random texture. Okay, knock this back a bit up here. Come down here and get some shading right there. And, you know, I'm thinking ahead here. I might just go ahead and try to make this guy black wolf, and use this guy as reference. So I'm just lay this down best I can. Okay. I'm going to go back to a spatter brush, number 14, and try to create some dark areas like you see happening in here. Some random dark areas. See this stuff happening here, even though I don't have that detail on there. I want to imagine some planes that are facing in that direction and just try to apply the same black. Scribble over that a little bit. Size the brush down, get in there and enhance some of these wrinkles a little bit more. Size it up and trying to enhance a little bit more of this detail here. Got another picture of him behind there. Just kind of look at it for reference and inspiration. Okay. Also got to check out some of these other spatter brushes. See what they got to offer. Oh, that looks decent. Kind of put a little bit of extra random detail in there. Now I'm just kind of tapping it down and getting some just some real random spots of detail. Really just experimenting. Nothing planned. Seeing what I can get away with here. Alright, before we forget about it, I'm going to turn this hand layer on, lock it. Oh wait, not going to lock it yet. I'm going to go to the smudge tool, hit that number 14, and smudge this around a bit. Maybe go back to the hard edge brush and use that. There we go. Just gonna fix a few of the edges. Alright, gonna lock it and continue to smudge it. With the edges locked, it'll just push this detail right to the edge without going past the edge of it. I'll fix that up real quick. Go back to the brush tool, select that number 45 and start drawing in some detail. Trying to follow that theme of the light and shadow that I have laid down. And just very quickly put that together. Let me see the hand layer. Yeah, the lighting on this is too different to follow exact, so I'll just have it there for anatomy's sake. And just kind of go in here and rough this in. Put a little shading in here. I'm sure that would be blocked by the light source. Shining up around it like that. Shade it in here in between these two fingers. Alright, just gonna give it a once over. Tone it back a bit. Alright. You know what? Looking at this, I don't think I like where the hand is. I'm going to move it over. Right about there. Maybe move him over. Nah, I'll leave him right there. And continue to block in some shading and whatnot. I'm just going to kill this back right here a little bit. And then select, holding down the Alt button, selecting this tone up here. I'm just going to put a little bit of some highlights on here. To lay down a foundation detail. A little bit of some highlight down there. And maybe just a wisp of it in here. Like so. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and loosely lay in some color. First I'm going to size up this brush and go in the background and just give it some random detail here. Maybe there's a light on over here somewhere that we can't see off camera. And so we'll have that reflect on him. But yeah. With the wolf layer locked, I'm just going to go in here and put a little bit more shading down here, like so. Hand is still locked, I'm going to shade that down there. There's a selective beam of light hitting him. Okay. And knock this back a bit. Now, I'm going to go back to color mode. Select just a simple round brush and find a nice cool color for the background. just to start with. I don't know if I'll necessarily keep it like that, but I do like to experiment with my tones, my values, my hues, and sometimes I completely change it right in the middle of working on it. Select that and just kind of hit the wolf, hit his hand, and I'm looking over here trying to figure out what kind of colors are in the image. Looks like there's a little bit of some warm gray tones I can incorporate. Whoops, wrong layer. So I'm going to go ahead and try to introduce those in here. Like so. Maybe the light that's down here in the corner, kind of highlighting it, is a little bit warmer than what's in the background. But I don't want to get rid of my illusion that it's a black wolf. That might be kind of tough. Let's take a look at the color of that teeth, those teeth. I'll just go ahead and apply that in there, see what that looks like. And then for this, I'm just going to grab a little bit of a purple, a little bit of a, just mix around a few colors here. I'm just going to grab and select and see if I can imitate that a bit. Shrink that down with the brush and try to hit the gums up here using the color I just got from the tongue. Okay, and now I'm gonna switch over to the burn tool, hit shadows, just experiment with this, and I don't want to mess up my art, so I'm going to copy this layer in case I go too far and really screw it up. I'm just going to look for some areas I can just knock way back. I really want this guy to be a dark, dark wolf. This is a little difficult for me to do it. I've never painted a black wolf before. So we'll see if I pull it off or not. Zoom out of this. Go to the hand layer. Knock back some of that. Okay. Up here. Kill that back. It might be overkill. I don't know. We'll find out in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to that background layer, switch my brush back to normal. I'm going to hold down Alt and sample this, and click on the swatch, bring it up, and try to find a lighter hue to put in there. Maybe there's a little bit of a mist right here in the background, just a little bit. Obscure details. And then up here in the corner, again, we're thinking about that off-camera light source. I know I'm starting to talk weird because I'm concentrating here. Okay, go with that, I think. I'm going to sample this on the hand and go back to the wolf layer and just put a little bit of that in there. Maybe, I don't know, let's see. I guess. And knock this back a bit. Alright, well, I'm going to take this color here. No, I'm not. I'm going to take this color here and go back to number 14 brush. Wolf layer is locked, so I'm going to just kind of see if I can, I don't know, put some highlights on here, see if that works or if it doesn't work. See if there's anything in my reference photos that help. Not the same kind of lighting, so not really. I'm just going to cautiously come in here and put some of that in there. Maybe a little bit up here too, maybe. See what that does. And over here as well. Over here. down here by the hand, and maybe a little bit down here. I would tend to think that little burn tool here. I tend to think that the this head would block any of that light source, and there may just be a little bit of ambient light. So select that, put the Alt key, put it in there. Alright, I think time to add some more detail. I was working in the wrong layer for a minute there, but my layer was locked, so it prevented me from messing up and painting on the teeth and having messing up my layer system. Alright, I'm going to zoom in on the face here and get a little close up on the detail. I'm going to check out this eye, and first off I'm going to make sure I'm in my brush tool. I'm going to pick this brush down here again, this is 45, and I'm going to just kind of draw in some detail, just kind of figure out what I want to do with this. Start drawing eye detail. Shrink it down, go in there and draw some finer detail. Yeah, maybe it'd be faster if I switched over to this 14. Probably. Okay, that's working out. I just want to add some good detail here. So I see, there's all kinds of little bit of fine detail with this kind of fur, and of course I added all those wrinkles, so I want to keep those in there and keep mindful of that. For reference on that, it'd probably be good to pay attention to some of this kind of detail in here, the tones and textures, especially right here. So I think I'm gonna enlarge this and keep that there for right now and use that picture. See what that does for me. Gonna keep going here with this 14 brush and trying to add some higher detail. Let's select that tone right there. Do some highlighting. Could even go over to the dodge tool, select shadows, same brush, number 14. Oops, looks like we got a thing going on with our brush settings. Window, history, dodge. Brush settings aren't working. Usually I have to, oh no, transfer is turned off. So I'm going to turn that on, click on it, make sure that that's where I want it to be. That's the settings right there. And let's try it now. Yeah, now it's working. I'm going to close that, get it out of the way. Maybe turn the exposure down a little bit, it's kind of heavy-handed. There we go, now I can work faster. I don't have to be so slow and careful. Yeah, this is kind of difficult for me right now. I've never really tried this kind of specifics on like a dark black wolf type creature, so let's see if I can pull this off. I think I do need to come back on the tones here and make sure that it is a warmer gradient in the hue in a minute here, but first I'm going to go ahead and lay down all this dodge and burn stuff. See if I can bring out a little more contrast in the detail. Still just doing the same, laying down some random hairs. Getting quiet on you here because now I'm just really focusing on the image. Shrink it down a bit, see if I can get a little bit more finer detail in there. Some random hairs here and there, like that. Well, I don't know if it looks necessarily black yet, but at least it's looking like something. Let me get back to my references here. Let's see what I can see. This is starting to look a little bit like one of the previous wolf paintings I did. Close-up werewolf painting. So it's kind of hard to break out of your own habits. All your pieces of art start to look the same. I'll do my best to try to make this vary by the time I'm done, but we'll see what I come up with. I guess the good thing about that other version of the wolf that I'm talking about, I did not have a narration on that, so if this starts getting close to that, at least this version will have that going for it. Not sure about that eye, but I might want to move that pupil over a little bit. I'll just circle that. Hit Q, filter blur, Gaussian. Let me zoom in. Okay, there we go. Q to exit. Command C, Command V, copy paste. Nudge it over a little bit. And maybe. Yeah, it looks a little bit better, I guess. Turn it on and off. Alright, I'm going to merge that down, Command E, and I think I'll come up here with the smudge tool and just kind of work that a little bit differently. Alright, let's see. I think time to really blast in some variations in here, because I don't like how monotone it is right now, monochromatic. So I'm going to go in the background, I'm going to copy that layer so I can back it up. The dodge tool set to highlights. Turn this back up. And just kind of give it some indications of some brighter glows back there. And same thing, go to the wolf. Pick that number 14 spatter brush tool. And I'm just gonna go crazy with the highlights because I'm getting very bored with the monochromatic status of this picture. I feel like it needs to liven up. Alright, to the hand layer. And the teeth, I'll lighten those up too. Make those things pop a little bit more. Whoops, wrong layer. Try to get some highlights, some bands of highlights on the fur here. Nose. I'm going to switch over to color mode and look for a tone in here that I can use, a hue. Just kind of knock back some of this blue purple thing happening here. Same thing on the hand layer. I'll flip this thing, image, rotation, flip horizontal, just see what it looks like backwards. Yeah, not too bad, I guess. Maybe I'll work with it like that for a bit. And make this tooth here pop a little bit more. Grab the brush tool, go back to normal mode. Hard edge brush, and sample that tooth there. Just kind of get these teeth worked out a little bit more. Alright, grab that color or that tone right there and try to put a little bit of a dividing line in there. Some shade behind the teeth and around the teeth. Smudge tool works for that as well. Just kind of shape things around a little bit. I'm going to unlock the layer for a moment so I can go in there and work this other tooth. And then this stuff's kind of messy up here. I'm going to try to fix it up. There we go, a little bit better. Smudge tool works really good for that. Okay, I'm going to flip this back now. Image, rotation, flip. And I'm going to just get up close to this tooth here. See what I can do to make my tooth more realistic. Maybe a little glint of shine on it. Still using the smudge tool here to shape things out a little bit better. Alright, how about dodge tool set to highlights. And looking at these little glints here, I'm going to see if I can add those on mine and see if it helps. Just little wet spots here and there. Yeah, this purple thing going on over here, I don't really care for that. I'm going to knock that back. Color mode. Let's see. Maybe like that. Okay. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the dodge tool. Set it to mid-tones. Soft edge brush. Size it up. Try to get back some of my mid-tones here. Right here. As well as in the eye. And I think that I want to make an emphasis, like maybe there's just a piece of light hitting him right here. And then of course a little bit on the hand. But also take back some of the highlights down here a little bit. Maybe go in here and add some random hairs. Oops, I'm in color mode. Take it back to normal. Just add some random hairs. Like so. going to grab this color here. Trying to add a little bit of detail like so right here. Still doesn't feel like my colors are working out the way I want. I'm exploring right now, trying to find a decent theme here. Maybe go back to color mode here, lock the layer, and I'm going to copy it again, turn the layer under it off. I'm going to just grab some of these colors and just blast down there and see what it comes up with. Starting to look brown instead of a black wolf. Maybe if I try to put a little bit of cools back in there, it'll help. Like so. I'm not sure. I might have to look up some references of Black Panthers and Black Wolves and just see what that does. But I encourage you to do the same. You can look up all kinds of references and have them off to the side to help you with specific rules and lights and shadows. I'm going to go ahead and knock these teeth back up here. See if that helps too. Set a certain kind of mood for this. So maybe there's just barely a piece of lighting hitting him. Maybe that'll help things. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to flip this horizontally. And wrong layer again. Maybe go back into shadows. Color mode. I need to match the tones in his hand with what's on his face. Like so. This is tough. Maybe if I come in here nice and close, grab a different spatter brush, make sure I'm on the right layer, go back into normal mode. I can emphasize some of this dark hair a little bit better. Try this brush. It's helping a little bit. Size it up a bit. Knock some of this back down here. I suppose a black bear would be a good reference to look up as well. And back to the number 14 brush. Put a little bit more emphasis on some of these wrinkles in here. There we go. Starting to come along a little bit, I think. Computer sounds like it's getting ready to lift off. Fans are really working overtime in here. Alright. I feel like I want to get a little bit of that brownish tint in here. So I'm going to see if I can find some of that in the palette here. Just kind of work it in where possible. Whoops, a little heavy there. And maybe lighten some of this gums up a little bit. Grab some of this, put this down here on this tongue. A little bit of this brown on the edges of his mouth. On his lips. All right. Interesting task. Flip this around and try to get a little bit of this lighter tone here. Maybe I'll get some off the tooth. I'll copy it again, do some experimenting with the dodge tool, set to highlights, see what kind of nuttiness I can throw on this thing here. Back to color mode, brush tool. Whoops, that's luminosity. That will not work. There we go. I think I'm gonna color his eye. Some kind of wild color, maybe no, not that. Maybe something like this. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see here. Maybe just a brown color. That won't look too bad, I guess. And back to the hand. Match the tones. Flip the canvas horizontally. See what we have so far. Alright, I am now at a point on this picture where I'm ready to close all of the reference photos I have up. I'm going to go ahead and be real daring and try to change this into something that really appeals to me. Right now it's very boring. I don't really care for it, so I'm gonna do all kinds of stuff to try to bring some life into it in a manner that's appealing to me. So first of all, I'm gonna fix this these teeth up here, the gums. I want this to look more snarly, more mean. So I'm gonna go into the layers palette, unlock the layer, hit filter, liquefy, and let me size that brush down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pull these down a little bit. Give it more of a nasty snarl. Maybe pull this upper lip back a little, push these teeth down. I'm just going to start really wandering into the fictitious realm here and just forget all anatomic rules and just get crazy with this creature. I'm also going to put this this side of the mouth in a little bit more, kind of like what a wolf looks like when it's howling. Not necessarily howling in this picture, but I'm just trying to give it a little bit more character, make it pop more. And I'm going to give myself a little bit more room up here, a little more real estate in the forehead area, so I can maybe add some more detail. Also exaggerate some of the hairs and features on the chin. Just try to give it a little bit more character. I'm going to say okay to accept those changes and take a look at what I did. Here it looks like he's more laughing. Now he's very just crazy, insane, rabid animal ready to attack. I also think I'm going to go ahead and change the print size of this thing. First I'm going to go to image size. I'm going to make it 12 inches wide. I might want to make little poster prints of this, as I often do with a lot of my artwork. So I'm going to make this more of a usable print size, and I tend to print out 12 by 18 prints of these things for shows and whatnot, so make it a little bit more usable. Plus it'll, it's a little bit more publisher friendly if I have it at that kind of proportions, in case I need to use it for a title. Sometimes I repurpose this stuff for comic book related projects. So now I'm going to say canvas size, and I'm going to make the height from the top of the picture down. I'm going to elongate it to about 18 inches. And there's that. And now that I did that, I got to stretch the background layer. Just going to select that with the rectangle marquee. Command H to hide the selection. Just to have it, I have. And then I'm going to deselect, Command D, select the bottom portion of the wolf, stretch that out. Okay, Command D, deselect. And I think I'll go in here and liquefy that as well. Size up the brush, just kind of push that out like a chest, like so. Alright, and then the hand. I think I'll move this down here, maybe down to the bottom, like that. So now we have him kind of moved around a little bit. I'm going to go in here and change some of this detail around the eye. I got the smudge tool selected, and I want to give it a little bit more expression around the eyes, a little more vicious, a little bit more crazy. Let's see here. I'm just going to kind of push these pixels around a little bit. And I think also this pupil, I just want to kind of push it down here a little bit more, just to make him look really psychotic crazy. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to, with this smudge tool, I'm going to go tuck some of these teeth back behind this part of the mouth that I moved forward, the liquefy. Just kind of hide it a little bit. And I think I need to go in there with the dodge tool, set to mid-tones, and lighten some of this up a bit so I can rework the detail for these new proportions I've added into here. Might be losing the character of it being a black wolf, but we'll see where we end up going with that. I might just change my mind altogether on that and just make him be a regular gray wolf. Alright, back to the mid-tones. Maybe lighten this up in here. It's doing all kinds of terrible things with the color. I'm going to go into the hand layer and lighten this up a bit. Switch back over to my brush tool. Nice round edge brush, layer locked, kind of kill back some of these very obnoxious, loud, blue, bright pieces that just appeared from me doing that work with the dodge tool. And see how this works. Alright, back to the dodge tool, mid-tones. Now it's starting to look like it's maybe got some car headlights or something shining on it, which is acceptable. Okay, I like where it's going now. It's going a little bit better. Back to brush tool, color mode, locked layer. Knock down these blues on there. Alright. So now that we have these new lightened areas, I'm going to zoom in on his face and try to work in some more tighter detail. I'll stick with my number 14 spatter brush for now. Turn my color mode back to normal mode. And I'm just going to work a little bit in black and white for now. I really want to lay down some intense wrinkles and features on here that'll really help, you know, push the intensity of the insanity of this creature, insane viciousness. So I got my left hand hovering over the keyboard as it always is, and I'm going to just hit the X key to go to white. And you know, I got my black and white swatches set on default. And I'm just going to kind of go back and forth between the two for right now and redo this detail. This is a good exercise because, as you can see, I start out with an idea in my head and then just kind of developing it as I go, and I completely changed course. You know, that's why I call it a doodle. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. And it's a really good exercise. It's relaxing, and it's just, you know, this is something I started to do about back in 2006 when I first started uploading on YouTube. I found these videos on there. People were titling them speed painting, and they were showing themselves drawing time lapse. And I thought, hey, you know, that's pretty cool. I think I'll try that out. And it caught on. My channel caught on for a few years there, and it became a fun little escape. And I was doing a lot of really aggressive animatics deadlines, storyboards deadlines for ad agencies, and the time turnaround for deliverables on that is just so over the top that anything you do on the side could instantly be cut short by the demand of the deadline work. So I made myself just really quickly pound out these paintings within a couple hours. The dragons and the werewolves, and they weren't serious paintings by any measure, but they got a lot of attention back then, and sometimes it made me feel a little insecure because I'm pounding out work that is not my best work. And I did find some critics in the genre industry, you know, talking about how sloppy and fast, or not fast, but how sloppy and, you know, unprofessional my work was. Other peers, other competitive people, they were putting me down and saying, you know, well, this work's not up to par with what this industry. And it was frustrating because it was just a side thing, You know, I just tried to do my best to look away from that. It's all you can do. Do your best and perform your best, because I was already working hard and successful in the industry I was working in, so it really didn't matter. But you always get that little ego that comes up and feels a little insecure, like, oh, wait a minute, I can do better, really. And you want to convince these people, and start to realize that no, just relax, just let it go, and it's not a big deal. Then you're no longer enjoying it. You're becoming distracted by the pretentiousness of the world. It's pulling you away from the whole reason you're doing this to begin with, which is the passion and enjoyment. So, but anyway, nice little story for you there. I tend to fall victim to my own ego a lot, and my pride with my work. So I'm just continuing here with the black swatch, and I'm just trying to throw in some nice hardcore shadows. If we were to assume that this light is somewhat lower, coming down from closer to the ground, we would try to imagine areas where it would be heavy shadow, like probably above some of these snarl wrinkles, just to give it a little bit more ferocity. Like this particular area right here, really want to pound that in there. I'm going to switch over to white again, and just kind of throw in some under highlights here under these ridges, and try to keep this balanced. And in the eye, I want to do something up here. I'm going to zoom in a couple times, see if I can tighten this up a bit. Really want to make this detail on here just really extravagant if I can. It's really fun, very relaxing to just create these things. And back to black. And put in some variations in the skin texture in here. And I think I want to add some more color in here. I'm looking at this now thinking it might help me if I put a little bit of fleshy skin undertones, like maybe a little bit of brown or something. So let me see. Look at my swatches over here. I guess I'll try this brown right here. Color mode. Just enlarge the number 14 brush. Go in there and just kind of put some of that in there, see what that looks like. Some of these areas where there's not as much hair, maybe there's some of the skin showing through there. And let's see, maybe I'll grab a little bit of some off color just to mix in there, like this light yellowish green, so it doesn't look too monochromatic. Just some various hues that might be in the skin. Hold down the Alt button, grab some of the color that I already made. Come down here and do the same thing to the hand. Whoops, got to get on that layer. Give it a little extra variety. Zoom out from that, see how it's looking. Alright, I'm going to go back over to my normal mode brush. I'm going to try to give it a little bit more texture in the hair now. darker patterns right here. Lay down the dark first and then go in there with some white in a minute and try to throw out some highlights on top of that. Also at this point I'm feeling like I need to flip this image to see it backwards. Just give it a fresh view. Stare at it too long, I start to lose sight of it a little bit there. Okay, put a little bit in here. Grab this color with the Alt button. And some dark in here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the hand and try to put a little bit of variation of detail in there as well. I just hit Command S and try to remember to save as much as often as possible, so I don't lose all this work that I'm doing. So it's good to keep your left hand hovering over the keyboard if you're right-handed, and for those quick keys to hit Command S, or just have your fingers on the Command Z keys and the space bar. It's just a habit I learned from back in the days when I worked at a retouching studio, working through deadlines. It's always good to just have the quick key process down so you can blow through these things and get it done fast. Okay. There's some more random dark areas in here. I think I needed, and I'm in the wrong layer again. There we go. Some variations in here so it doesn't become too, tedious or too monotonous. Trying to really find that illusion of hair. I've got to lay down a lot of the dark first. Kind of just randomly scribbling here and there just to lay down that foundation. Okay, I'm going to zoom in one time, see if I can put some finer hairs in here. Make sure I have absolute black first. And I'll enlarge that brush a bit, just kind of throw in some larger swaths of darkness in here. Also down here, maybe put a little bit more of a ledge of shading up here. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to the white. And I think instead of just using white, I think I'll grab this warm gray right up here. See what I can do with that. Just add some really random hairs. Just groups of hairs. See if that works. I don't want to be too monochromatic with this, so I'm going to be using the Alt key and just sampling colors from within the image, like right here. Grab that, come down here. Some lighter hairs, and then a little bit of that greenish hue right there. Just try to make some little groups of strands. And maybe throw some up here, maybe unlock this layer for a few, so that some of these hairs can travel outside of the shape a little bit. Grab this color here, give it lots of variety, a lot of variation. grab a really light color right there. Just see if I can get a mid highlight area right about here. See what that does. A couple of wild hairs. So it isn't all just same old, same old. Right here I'm going to try to make a highlight area. A little bit of wild hairs up here just to make it a little tighter detail. I want to swatch, or I'm going to switch image rotation, flip horizontally. Okay. Alright, I have created some custom brushes here real quick just because I feel like I need them for some of this detail in here. So I got this one right here. I just called these hairs 1, hairs 2, hairs 3. I'll try to make those available for you when I'm done with this video. Just look for that information along with the along with this tutorial. Anyway, you can see real quick how the how these brushes would work to kind of fill in some of these details, not just for hairs but for wrinkles. And I really want to put some more of that kind of stuff in here just to give a little bit of a texture. Quickly lay down some texture by painting these in here. This is not unlike a traditional art brush where you would spread the little chunks of hairs out on the brush and try to get the same kind of pattern in painting. At least when I do it, that's what I do. I tend to squash my brush down with the paint in it and spread out the fibers, and I try to get little textures like this. So this is kind of like the digital equivalent of that. Let me enlarge a little and get a little sloppy right there. So let's see here. And then I'm going to pick this one over here. So you can see it's just a bunch of spread out little scribbles. I'm going to try to, whoops, I need to go in here and turn the spacing down. You can see it's got a weird spacing, so I just need to turn that down to 1. There we go. And just kind of go in there and randomly place some of these hairs. Different sizes. Just give it some really nice fine texture. And I'm just sizing the brush up and down as I go with the left and right bracket keys. Come up here into the eye area and just make some random wrinkles, skin textures. Shrink it down a little bit. At this phase in the picture, I start jumping around, moving really quick because I just get really anxious to see this thing come to some kind of fruition, completion. Let me grab this brush now, shrink it down. Some detail in there from that. Like so. Alright, put some up here. Enlarge it a bit. Definitely want to put some detail in here. This is a pretty good area to add this kind of detail. A little bit into the eyes. You can see I can use this kind of texture for a lot of different areas. It isn't just restricted to hairs. But I make it primarily for the hairs, the furs, the fibers, whatever you want to call them. Some random detail up here. Like so. And keep that upper snarl nice and detailed. Maybe in the nose here. Some up here. Some down here. A little bit of it trailing off of his chin. Some down here as well. Alright. Now, kind of kill that hair back up there a little bit. I'll go and grab this brush, do some of the same, just kind of vary it up a little. Okay, some more shadow up here. I'm going to spin this thing around a little bit. Same brush, whoops. Just kind of give it a, come from a different direction for these more horizontal ledges up here. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the dodge tool. And I'm going to zoom out and just take a look at this and see what I can do to highlight certain areas. Make sure I got a pretty good reading of the high areas. I think it's kind of too dim right now. Maybe I'll go to highlights and start messing with these brushes again. And grab this one. Go in here. Basically, just try to bring out some of the high points and some of these wrinkles. See what that does. A little bit of a shine, a little bit of a glisten here and there. As well as up here. Put a little bit on the tongue there, make it a little bit more wet. A little bit over here. Alright, some of the highlights in the hairs. I think it's time to reverse the image again. There we go. Put a little bit of highlighting right here. Shrink this thing down. Some up there, up here. Try to make some absolutely powerful speckling glares in various areas on the hairs and on the skin. I love putting this much detail into images. It's a lot of fun. Alright. Okay, trying to figure out when to say when here. Some highlights up here. Punch that in a little bit. Yeah, let's go over to the hand now. Trying to put some variations on there as well. Scribble them in there. It's not too smooth. Some random detail in there. Scratch it up a bit. Make it really rough. Alright, I'm going to copy this layer because I'm going to do some experimenting now. And I'm going to go underneath it with the mid-tones here. And try to go underneath this hand a little bit, see if I can bring out some wisps with highlights. No, that doesn't work. Maybe right here. And then Go in here and try to highlight just some specific areas, like so. Okay. Let's see. Alright, I feel like I need to go in here and do some extra work with the brush tool set to normal. With that same hair brush selected, just kind of come in here and work in a little bit more defined areas of detail with the fur and hair. Also, maybe build in a little bit more brown in here for some skin tones. Trying not to go too quiet on you here. At the concentration level right now where I'm experimenting. So do me a favor and don't fall asleep. Try to keep talking here as much as I can. All right. Some detail down here. I feel like there needs to be some random highlight areas of hairs. I'll shrink this down nice and small. Just use it like that. Make some really random spots in here. And wondering what I can do to amp up the wrinkles here on the side. I'm going to take this brush and spin it back this way again. See if I can get in there. Guess I should zoom in and just try to build up a little bit more shadow areas in the little valleys between the wrinkles. All right. Some more up here. More defined, very fine detail in the skin textures here. Come up here and try to add a little extra shadow ledges. Especially up here. Alright. Some more little cracks in the skin up here. And some detail up here as well. Alright, just a few more areas of hair over here to scribble in there. And I'm going to go back now to my number 14 Photoshop spatter brush. I'm going to come in here and work on some valleys, some areas, try to make them a little bit more pronounced. Looking at this area here, and I think it would be cool to add a big old valley right in here. like so. Okay, just kind of put a big, maybe it's even a scar, I don't know. I'm just going to try to add some more random detail to try to amp up the realism in this thing. Like so. Okay, a little bit right in here, just kind of just define some of this stuff a bit more. A few more cracks in the skin here. And I'm just going to kind of dot a little bit of this in there. Maybe there's just some rough skin, some pores. Just kind of tap down the number 14 spatter brush in there. Give it a little bit, break up a little bit of the monotony of the straighter squiggly lines. Just put some under texture in there, some roughage on the skin. Time to flip it back, I think, the other side, just to see it a little bit differently. Okay. And now I'm going to grab, I think I'm going to do some splotches in here, some variations in the skin. Maybe there's some darker areas and some lighter areas. Some blemishes on the skin. And I'll go here and check out a brown tint, light tan color. Maybe this one right here. Let's try this one for highlights. Go in the middle of, in between some of these valleys, some of these cracks, and just push out the higher areas a little bit better. Maybe I'll go to color mode real quick and do some coloring. Just some random different color detail on the skin. Take the dodge tool, set to mid-tones. Try to lighten up some of this a little bit down here. And down here. Maybe get a little bit on the inside of the mouth there. I want to go in here and fix this little crack right there. There we go. I'm going to set this to shadows. Whoops, wrong one. I want to set the burn tool to shadows. And go in here and darken it back some of this stuff. Give it a little bit more contrast. Same thing on the hand. Just fade that out. And again, flip it horizontally. Just trying to stay on top of the any monotony in the detail. Grab, go back to black and white. Oops, get out of color mode, get into normal mode. Oops, I'm in the wrong layer. Okay. And here on the teeth and just try to highlight that a little bit more. Give it some shine here. Make it look kind of wet. Put some shine in some of the parts of the skin there. Right about here, here, a little bit up here as well. Alright, put some down on there in this tooth. A little bit on the tongue there. Right here in this tooth. Some nasty, nasty monster. Some various highlights up here as well. And I think move to the hand. Do a little bit of the same. Oops. Keep forgetting I'm in different layers and they're locked. Alright. We're getting close here. Real close to being done. My favorite part, being done. Finally seeing it come into fruition. Make a new layer here. Maybe there's a slight bit of motion and some drool, some spittle. Like he just, you know, is opening his mouth and there's some spittle falling about. Some random highlights here and there. Maybe grab a few samples of blue from over there and mix those in. Like so. Put that on top of the hand layer. Some few last minute details. And maybe I'll copy this background layer and add some very slight indications of background detail. Nothing too over the top. Maybe there's a little bit of a tree back there. Some branches. Alright, I'm going to fan out the spatter brush a little bit. So that's some really random detail in there. I'm going to make that hand just a little... No, I'm not going to do that. Escape. Forgot I did some detail on the outside of that. There it is. Well, you know, I could just cut this, circle that with the lasso tool, hit Q, filter, blur, Gaussian, The reason I'm doing the blur is in case there's any detail in there, and when it cuts, it won't be too hard of a cut. Cut, paste, and just move that down there on the hand. Alright, now I can size up the hand, but it looks weird with the background turned off. There. I don't know if that was necessary or not, but I thought I might need it. Alright, now the only question I have is which one looks better, this pose or horizontally flipped. Don't know. Maybe we'll leave it like that just to make it different than the other one. And that's it. Thanks for watching my tutorial on the wolf, and please come back for future tutorials, and hope you enjoyed this. Signing off, Chris Scalf.